now we're recording. Okay, hello everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Leah Martino, and I'm the programming manager for Black People Don't Tango Productions. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Paul Ford, the National Federation of State Poetry Society's president. Paul is a poet and editor of Panorama Poetry Anthology. Paul has been involved in the Utah Poetry Society for over 10 years before becoming the NFSPS president. His personal mission statement is Servus Poetarium, Latin for servant of the poets. Today, I have a few questions for you about your relationship with the Georgia Poetry Society and about yourself. Okay. So firstly, how did you get involved with the Georgia Poetry Society? Or how do you know, I call her Miss C, or you probably know her as Lucinda Clark.
Right, I got a call from Lucinda the day after I was elected president with kind of a, I don't know what to do type call. so the president had resigned, mm-hmm. and she had stepped in kind of acting president. Mm-hmm. And so she was reaching out to me to find out kind of how or what resources we could provide. Mm-hmm. And so I mostly just let her talk because I couldn't, resolve all the problems in a phone call. And so that is my sum total of, well, we've had some emails, but that's my sum total of involvement in the Georgia Poetry Society.
Yeah. So can you tell our viewers about your role as president for the National Poetry Society instead of just the state level? Because I know that's what Ms. C does, but we're interested in knowing more about you.
Yeah, so it's the National Federation of mm-hmm. State Poetry Societies. Mm-hmm. We have 32 societies, of which Georgia and Utah are a couple, and 30 others. Mm-hmm. So it does go coast to coast, a number on the East Coast, all the way over to California and Oregon. The National Society is really just a support structure to the state societies. Mm-hmm. We are, as my motto, we are just simply serving. And every 2 years, we have a new elected board. Mm-hmm. Every year, we hold an annual convention. So every other year at the convention, there's an election. And this year, we had it just outside Columbus, Ohio, hosted by the Ohio Society. Mm-hmm. And we're many of us who attend are really just addicts. We really like to be with other poets. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds a little odd, but that's the truth. We just like to get together.
Funny.
So is that good enough?
Yeah, no, and also maybe just go into how you started with the Utah Poetry Society. Okay. And also your role as president there, because I know you started a couple of newsletters and anthologies. So if you want to talk about that.
Okay, sure. So going back in history, mm-hmm. back in 2007, my wife died, 20 years of marriage. And just like so many other people, I ended up finding poetry as a way to help mm-hmm. deal with this loss. And then I found a chapter here in the Salt Lake area of the Utah Poetry Society. And then after a couple of months, they asked me to be the president of the local chapter, which I was a terrible poet, still am, but I was happy to be, a way of doing something constructive. Mm-hmm. And then over the years, I took on other roles in the Utah Society, eventually becoming president, and then found a person who would be willing to take on the president role so I could step back. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I got involved in the National Poetry Society's quarterly newsletter, Strophes.
Mhm.
And so I started out just as a technical helper and then co-editor and then finally editor. So I've been editor around 10 years. However, at the convention, I was able to hand over the editor role to the past president of our society, Julie Cummings. And I'm so grateful for her willing to take that on. So I'm a consultant to her, I help her, but in the end, she does the bulk of the work. And I think that, so as far as poetry, I write a little bit, but mostly I just like to get together with poets and share poetry.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say that I really, really like is Joy Harjo.
Oh, I love her.
She had a little quip, this quote, "Poetry belongs to everyone."
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you know, the heart of that person who says that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a, I'm going to cut you up and eat you for dinner. They, and your poetry project, is the idea of collaboration.
Yes.
Feels exactly, simpatico.
Yes, exactly.
The last little thing I would say is we're in a little 2.5 weeks, we're going to host our first national slam competition in Daytona Beach, Florida. We have, I can't remember now, easily $5,000 in prizes. Mm-hmm. So this is not, get a $20 check if you win. Mm-hmm. And so we're hoping that with the hurricane that just went through, that things will be able to be cleaned up enough that we can conduct our slam competition, as well as people traveling from many different places to get there. And if this works out well, we hope to have a slam competition every year as a part of our annual convention, which next year we're planning towards the end of June in Iowa.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds so exciting. Would that slam be also on Zoom for some of our viewers who I know are in the Georgia area or in New Orleans or the Gulf South?
I do not think so. I think it's just an in-person at this time, but it's a first. Yeah. So we kind of have to walk before we hybrid run.
Yeah, totally. That sounds so great. I hope it goes perfectly, and I hope you listen to a bunch of great poets.
Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to it, and looking forward to engaging young people who might not think, of a state poetry society as something that they would want to get involved in. And not that I'm much of a salesman, but
it's just something fun to do, to listen to people and listen about their art and kind of share stories through like a creative medium. I think that's really special and can't be done through a lot of different things, but words really have that hold on people. So I think poetry is very important. As someone who is 22 and likes to listen to and read and write poetry.
Yeah, and performance is really an important aspect that has for many centuries not been promoted. Mm-hmm. And this is something we're hoping to do.
Yeah, totally. So just a fun question. What's your favorite literary device and what's your favorite style of poetry?
Okay. So I'm not sure if I quite understand device. What are you looking for there? Like yours. What's your favorite?
That's mine. I would probably say symbolism or like metaphors. I really like those, and I like the imagery of words and how you can kind of like, there's a specific word that I remember in music people use, like how words paint pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, as far as, so device might be translated as technique.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, I would say I don't really have a favorite. I
Mhm.
do have a not favorite,
Okay.
which are similes.
Oh.
So, so many times I feel poets feel like they have to add something,
Hmm.
kind of decoration, and
Yeah.
they'll throw in an as or a like,
Hmm.
and it just feels like um, if you worked a little harder, it could be a metaphor,
Yeah.
and then it has kind of an organic feel,
Hmm.
as opposed to, like, let's say a little bangle on, or something
Yeah.
dripping from your ear.
Yeah. Yeah. Like decoration. It
So,
feels kind of forced and weird. I get that. Yeah.
so that's the via negativa, what I don't like.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, the other side of the question was,
A style of poetry.
okay. Um, I would say that I probably like the English Romantic poets the
Mm,
most. I
yeah.
just feel so, just blown away by
Hmm.
somebody like John Keats,
Hmm.
who dies at what, 20, 25. How he can write things that are just beyond. Like, if I wrote one of those poems, I would feel my whole poetry career was just perfect. so I'm
No,
so
I
I'm I'm kind of on the old side. I maybe not everybody's interested in the romantics, but
no, I love a good romantic moment. I think I prefer like more I don't know what style this would be, but do you know the poet Ross Gay?
no.
I love his work. I think it is more like slam poetry. It is more like spoken word kind of, but watching his performances and listening to his words, I feel are really powerful and moving. And
Mm-hmm.
it's more like a like you feel like the audience is really being spoken to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a flow
Hmm.
of experience that's coming through, rather than a stepping back and then picking out little pieces
Hmm.
of that experience. Would that be a kind of a way of looking at it?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that too.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me. And I hope everything in Daytona Beach, the slam poetry goes well. And I hope that the Georgia Poetry Society can get involved with that next year.
Yep.
So, yeah.
No, and it is something that hopefully year after year it'll get more and more involvement. And more, every state society ends up having a slam chapter. Like in Utah, we have a slam chapter now.
Wow.
Yep. So the future.
Yeah, maybe in the future. Okay,
Yep.
so thank you so much. And everybody should look out for the quarterly meeting of the the Georgia Poetry Society posting on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you.